What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Charles Enoch. Y'all already know we back with another Invest in Myself episode. Roll the intro. So around this time of the year, my girl and I, we mail our tenants out gift cards. Just letting them know we appreciate them for being good tenants. So I figured I'd show you this episode how I was able to get 4 properties within 4 years. But before we get into it, you already know your boy has to do the YouTube thing. So I'm close to getting monetized. So I'm gonna ask you guys, help a brother out. So go ahead, take a little time, hit that like button for me. If you're new to the channel or you just haven't done so yet, take a little bit more time, hit that subscribe button for me. Also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead, leave a comment down below stating that, hey, I just subscribed to your channel. And last, if you do enjoy my content, please think about donating to my Patreon page. I'll leave a link in the description page down below. And I appreciate anybody that takes the time to do this because it does help me reach a higher audience base. So my goal was to have more than 4 rental properties within these 4 years. But when COVID hit, it put a halt to things for a little bit. So the method I use when getting rental properties is called the BRRRR method, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So brief background, when I graduated from the University of Kansas, go Jayhawks, I decided to move back home to Washington State and live with my grandparents until I found a steady job. And it actually took me about a year and a half to find a career type job. But within that year and a half, I was working for a bank as a part-time teller. And while I was working, I decided in my mind, I was gonna save up enough money to have a down payment on a house because I did not wanna rent. I pretty much had enough of renting all throughout college. I mean, I got evicted from a couple places. I mean, I was just terrible. I mean, I would never want myself as a tenant, but I digress. So anyway, I stayed with my grandparents. I think they charged me about $200 a month. That was basically just for the utilities I was using and some of the food that I was eating. So within that year and a half, since I was able to save up majority of my checks and only pay about $200 for rent, I was able to save up about $25,000. And then I finally got a decent paying job. And once I got hired, I immediately started looking for a home. And I found a foreclosed home that was a fixer. And it was nothing too major. I mean, it needed a little painting, it needed some trim work, and it needed some flooring only in the den area. And this ultimately was the hub to my BUR strategy as I slowly start to learn that I can pull equity out of the house and use that equity to buy another property. And then I would just pretty much repeat that process by pulling equity out of the property that I bought, buying another property. Now, I won't be going into major detail about the BUR strategy, but I do have a couple of videos that I will link down below into the descriptions if you're interested in learning more about the BUR strategy. So I'm going to show you an overview of how much I purchased for my original home, how much I purchased for my rental properties, and the equity that I was able to pull out to purchase another property. So you already know I got the whiteboard in the back. So let's check it out. Let's see my 4-year journey here. Let's go. All right, so we're on the whiteboard. So let me give you an overview in regards to how I acquired my 4 rental properties here. So we kind of know the backstory here. This is my main property, and I purchased the main property. The price was $185,000. Now, I put a down payment of $20,000 on there. So once I got the house fixed up, because I had an FHA loan and they made me fix it up before I could get into the house. So once it was all fixed up, the new appraisal value of the house was $275,000. Now, this was before I knew anything about real estate. And I pretty much chose a fixer because that was the only thing that I could afford with my down payment. But it really turned out to be a blessing because I had a lot of sweat equity, right? So the equity in the property is $90K, pretty much the 275 minus the 185. Now, I was able to get a HELOC of $72,000, pretty much 80% of the equity in the house from my bank. So this is pretty much what started the BUR strategy. Once I started learning about it and knowing that I could pull HELOCs out of it, this is pretty much what the hub was, how I got the collateral and the capital. Now, if we go down here, I bought this house in 2016. Now again, before I knew about BRRRR, I didn't have the HELOC and everything yet, right? So I saved up some money. I saved up around another 20K, and it took me 2 years. So in 2018, I bought a house, and this house is in Kansas City, Missouri area. The purchase price was $95K. I put a down payment of $20K on there. For rental properties, for the conventional loan, I had to put 20% on there. That's why I put the $20,000 down payment. Now, the appraisal value for it right now, it's around $137,000. So the equity based off of the purchase price, no, I was paying a mortgage and everything. So the equity is a little higher. I just took the difference out of that. So the equity is about $42,000. And I have not touched or got a HELOC on this property. But this was my first rental property before I knew the BUR strategy. I literally saved 2 years worth of money, saved $20,000 to get this property. Now, once I really started learning about the BUR strategy and using HELOCs, I finally used this HELOC and I purchased this house. Now, this house is in the capital of Kansas, in Topeka, Kansas. Now, the purchase price of this house, and remember, I'm using the HELOC money, the $72K, the purchase price was $58,000. Now, the house, it did need some repair. The repair value is about $4,000. Now, when I got this appraised, and for reference in regards to the time frame, I didn't get this appraised until maybe like 7-8 months down the line. So this is about 2019 down the line. The appraisal went for $90K. Now remember, if I bought this house in full from this HELOC right here, that means the equity in this house, since it's paid off, the equity is $90K because that house is technically paid off, right? So I went to the bank for the rental property that only gave me 75% of the equity in the house, pretty much the home value. So I got a HELOC for $68,000. Now, what I did with that HELOC is I bought another property in the Topeka, Kansas area. So we're looking at 2019, 2020-ish, late 2019, late 2020, when I bought this property. And I bought this property for $50,000. The repair on it was only $1,000. So backstory with this house, there was an investor, and their experience went really, really bad. They had a terrible tenant. And the investor, they refixed up pretty much the house except for a couple things, and they just wanted to get rid of the property, right? So they just said, hey, give me a pretty decent offer. So I gave them that $50,000. There were just a couple little things to make it move-in ready. So it was about $1,000 for repair. The appraisal, again, I'm waiting about 6, 7, 8 months in regards to getting an appraisal. And why I kind of do that is I wait to get a tenant in with my property management, how they do that, and then I'll wait some months for the tenant to see how they're acting, see if everything's going right with the property. Usually, since you're repairing things up front, not too much goes bad with the property, but I just like to wait just a little bit here. So again, this is going on 6, 7, 8 months before I get an appraisal. So the appraisal, it appraised for $76,000. And remember, since this HELOC paid the price in full, the house is paid off. So the equity in the house is $76,000 as well. So I went back to the bank again. I got a HELOC for 75% of that, which is $57,000. So again, late 2019, early 2020. And then I got another property. Now this property was in the midst of when COVID kind of first started. So I was already in the process of buying the home. And if I backed out, I would have lost just the earnest money, which was just $1,000, but I really wanted this property. So the property price was $43,000. So I used this HELOC to get that property and pay it off in full. I had to do about $5,000 of repair to make it move in ready. Now, I did get an appraisal on this property pretty recently here. So it's going on the end of 2021, right? So, and I probably purchased this mid to late 2020. So the appraisal, it appraised for $63,000. And again, since this house is paid off by that HELOC, that means that the equity in that house is $63,000. They're going to give me 75% of the value of the house. So I have $48,000 in that HELOC. So this is how I was able to get 4 properties within 4 years. Again, this first property, you know, I just saved up money, and it took me 2 years, and then I started using the strategy. You know, I don't know how many properties I would have had if I would have used it right off the bat once I got my original primary home. So again, this is just an overview. We're not going into very great detail about the BRRRR strategy, what the rents are, or anything like that. But this is an overview of how I'm getting my properties, and these are pretty accurate numbers. Kind of had to round up, but these are real life numbers in regards to how I'm getting my properties. Again, I'm in that Topeka, Kansas area where the houses are a lot cheaper than Tacoma, Seattle, Washington area. So I hope this video was helpful for anybody that's thinking about getting into real estate and rental properties in regards to long-term strategy of buying and holding. And if this was helpful, remember, smash that like button for me, make that thing turn blue. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and take a little bit of time, hit that subscribe button for me, leave a comment down below. And again, if you do like my content, please remember, think about donating to my Patreon page. It's only just $2 a month. And like always, you guys have a good weekend. Peace out.